Okay, welcome to another lab. This is going to be called label number 10, and it's going to be a lot like lab number 9, in the sense that we're going to create a load balancer connected to some VMs and test IIS. But this time we're going to use the portal and not PowerShell. So, in case you didn't watch another lab or have no interest in how to do this via PowerShell, I'm going to go ahead and just go over the brief basics of what a load balancer is again. So, if you did this via PowerShell, there are some new things to learn here as well. So, let's get started. Load balancing provides a higher level of availability and scale by spreading incoming requests across multiple virtual machines. In our lab, we're going to do 3 machines, maybe 2. I haven't decided yet, but at least 2, maybe 3. In this lab, we will learn about the different components of the Azure standard load balancer that distributes internet traffic to VMs and provides high availability. So what we're going to do, we're going to create an Azure load balancer, create load balancer resources, create virtual machines and install IIS on them, view the load balancer in action, that sounds exciting, and then remove a VM from a load balancer and make sure we can still get to our website. Now here's a little information that is pretty good information, and if you're planning on taking the exam, might be helpful. But in other sense, it's good to know. We're going to start the lab, and a little space there. We're going to start, this might sound crazy and a little wild, but we're going to start a load balancer lab by doing what first? What do you think we should do first in a load balancing lab? How about create a load balancer? And in this case, we're going to use a standard load balancer. Azure has 2 different types, basic and standard. And when you use a standard load balancer, you also have to use a standard public IP address. So standard load balancer only supports a standard public IP address. So when you create a standard load balancer, you must also create a new standard public IP address that is configured as a front end. And that makes 0 sense now. Hopefully, in the lab, it will make lots of sense. So let's get started. All right, trying something a little different. I created a dashboard called Load Balancer, well, my Load Balancer in particular, and I placed the resource group Speed LB in there. If this turns out to be useful, in the next lab, which will be lab 11, I'll show how to do what I did here. But first step, as I said before, we're going to create a load balancer. So networking, lots of different ways. We could have typed load balancer here, but we'll go right here. Because sometimes it's nice to just look. Azure changes so much all the time. Oops. It's nice to see sometimes if there's any new resources available, like front door. That's something that's not talked about. It's been out for a while, but one way I learned about it was because I choose networking here, and I'm able to see all the new resources that are coming out. So it's pretty good to look at this from time to time. We'll do load balancer, and we'll say create. It's my subscription. We're going to put it in the speed load balancer. We'll give it a name of, how about speed LB. And we'll put it East US 2. And it's be public because people access from the internet. We'll make it a standard. And here it says standalone balancer is secured by default. This means network security groups are used to explicitly permit and whitelist allow traffic. If you don't have an NSG on a subnet or NIC of your VM, traffic is not allowed to reach this resource. Please configure one. Alright, so we're going to create a new public name and we'll call it load balancer. How about speed load balancer public IP address static availability zone. We'll put it in. Make it zone redundant, and add a public IP6 address. No. Let's make sure everything's good here. Name I like, region I like, public I like, SKU standard. That's good. Go in zone redundant. I think we're ready to create. Now this shouldn't take very long. Oh, sometimes I forget to hit create. Okay, in this section, we're going to go ahead and create a backend address pool, not create the actual VMs for it, or assign the VMs because we don't have VMs yet, a health probe, and specify a rule. So let's go to backend pools. We'll just kind of follow along here. Let's say add, and we'll call it web backend. Say add. Notice there's nothing else required here. We'll be coming back to fill the information in. Alright, so once this is complete, our next step will be a health probe. Pin a dashboard. Which we didn't want to do that really. Oh well. Alright, health probe. Add. And a health probe just acts as a pinging device to the resource to make sure it's online, because you don't want your load balancer setting requests to a resource that's not available. So the probe helps to make sure the resource is alive. So we'll call it speed lb. Let's just call it HTTP web probe. And protocol will be HTTP. And should we change these? Let's take this 15 and leave that as 2. So we'll say OK. And next stop, rules. Let's do an add here. This tells the load balancer what traffic to forward to the VMs. So we'll just call this rule 1. We don't have to get fancy. And maybe call it rule 1 HTTP. Because it'll forward HTTP traffic. 80, 80, correct. Web backend, health probe. And all this is fine. And so say OK. Okay, going to our dashboard. And this is what I like to see like this. So let's get rid of this one. Remove, and this one. Remove, and edit. And now we can move our little dude up here. And my IP address, but I was just like I done customizing. There we go. I like that. All right. So our next step is to create a virtual network. So I lost. Can't create a resource from right there, so I have to say there. Do we have VNet here? Virtual machines, virtual networks. So we do. All right, so create one. call it web. VNet. That's all right there. Resource group, speed load balancer, EastUS2. Call this backend sub. That's fine too. Don't have to get fancy with IP addressing. And we'll say create. All right. It's 11 minutes so far in the video. My videos can't be more than 15. And we're going to create a VM. So let's see how far we get. So we'll go here, virtual machines, and we're going to do some Windows 2016 data centers. So we'll do an add. Course, speed LB, virtual machine name, we'll call it VM1. Oh, that name's available. Who would have thought? EastUS2. Let's put a speed in front of that just in case. Put speed web. In this case, number VM2 and 3 is unavailable. We have the same names. We want Windows 2016 Data Center. We're gonna 2 CPUs, 8 gigs. Oh yeah, we don't want one. It'll take forever to get into those machines. So let's go. What do I? 2 and 8. Yeah, that's a good one. Select username, speed. Allow selected ports. We're going to allow 3389. And next. Premium distance is okay for now. Networking. Networking. I can't see if I'm moving or not. There we go. I'm going to go on the web. VNet. Yep. Backend subnet. Yep. Public IP address. Let's make sure that's right. Yeah, we need a standard one, remember, to go with our. That's an okay name. We're allowing those ports. Network security group. Advanced. Let's create a new one. There we go. And it's allowing RDP, that's fine. And place this virtual machine behind a existing load balancer. Yes. And Azure load balancer. And there's our guy. So excellent. Oh, somehow I paused it. 11 o'clock. PM. And we want this Eastern Standard Time. Yes. Off. Next. All right, not much time. I'm going to pause. I'm going to take